JaineBonded. The Fury of Raven Heller. Thanksgiving was supposed to bring the Jaine family together. Instead, it brings them face to face with a nightmare born in the woods. After years in the military, Veronika Jaine lives by discipline, instinct, and the fierce love she carries for her 15-year-old triplets. Lexa, the sharp and calculating oldest, Allika, the bright-hearted middle, and Allika, the fiery youngest whose temper burns as hot as her loyalty. Together, they are a tight-knit unit, trained, bonded, and unbreakable. But on their drive to the family Thanksgiving gathering, a hidden threat watches from the treeline. Raven Heller, a scarred drifter reborn by violence after surviving a near-fatal accident, believes he was chosen by death itself. Guided by chilling whispers and haunting visions, he searches for a family name he sees as a sign: Jaine. Now, as Veronika and her daughters walk the wooded backroads toward safety after their jeep breaks down, they sense a presence stalking them. Unseen, patient, close. When the family finally reaches their grandmother's house, the true nightmare begins. Cut off from help, surrounded by dense woods, and hunted by a silent killer wielding dual axes, the Jaines must rely on their bond, their training, and each other to survive the night. But Raven is not just stalking them. He believes their family is his destiny, and he won't stop until every last Jaine is collected. Prologue. The Reaper's hand. The night of the explosion still burned behind Raven Heller's eyelids, no matter how many months had passed. The memory replayed in flashes, soundless, searing, and impossible to forget. It always began with the same sound, a long, aching metallic groan, like the building itself was trying to warn them, like the steel had lungs. Harker Steel Foundry sagged under its own age, a carcass of rusted scaffolding and flickering lights. Raven stood beside the pressure vessel that had been hissing for hours. He touched it, felt the vibration beneath the metal skin, knew it wasn't right. "Joel," he said earlier, "this tank is going to blow." Joel didn't even turn. "We'll check it in the morning. Night shift can babysit it." Night shift. Meaning Raven. Meaning alone. Now, in the stillness of the nearly empty plant, the vessel vibrated harder. Steam hissed out like a dying animal, a high, thin whine built from inside the machinery. Raven reached toward the emergency lever. He never made it. The world detonated. A ball of fire swallowed him. He flew backward, body slamming into the concrete. A steel beam dropped from above and crushed him, pinning him by the ribs. His vision fractured. His right eye went white with pain. He coughed, blood and smoke. His lungs spasmed, desperate for air. Through blurred vision, he saw shapes running, his co-workers, passing him, racing for the exit. Not one looked back. Not one called his name. His fingers scraped the floor as he tried to reach toward them. "Help me." No one heard. No one cared. The heat blistered his skin. His heartbeat slowed. The world dimmed. The Reaper in the fire. The ringing in his ears faded just enough to hear footsteps. Slow, purposeful. A shadow emerged through the flames. Tall, hooded, edges flickering like smoke. Raven blinked hard. Was it real? Hallucination? Death itself? The figure knelt beside him, face hidden completely behind darkness. A skeletal hand, made of ash or imagination, brushed Raven's cheek. A voice vibrated inside his ribs. "Rise for me." Then everything went black. The man who lived. Raven woke in a hospital with burns carving blistered maps across his skin. A crushed lung. Half blind in one eye. Screams lodged in his throat. Doctors said he should have died. His wife left within a month. Harker Steel blamed him for the explosion. The town whispered cursed when he walked past. But at night the hallucination returned, standing by his bed, watching him from the shadows, whispering in that bone-deep voice. "You were saved for a reason." Raven stopped fighting it, stopped questioning. If death wanted him, he would serve. 3 months after the accident, the condemned foundry sat dead. Joel Greeley, Raven's former supervisor, returned one last time to grab old paperwork. He was drunk, muttering to himself, "I shouldn't have blamed him. Shouldn't have written that report." A shuffling sound behind him froze his body. Joel turned. A figure stepped out of the ruins. Long black leather coat, black denim pants, combat boots, a matte black reaper mask, hollow silver eyes, and a razor grin of metal teeth. Twin axes glinted in each gloved hand. Joel stumbled backward. "Raven? Is that you?" The figure tilted his head. A voice, calm, steady, final, escaped the mask. "Death sent me," Joel screamed. The axe came down once, clean, precise. Raven exhaled deeply, as if the blow released something inside him that had been caged too long. Purpose. Peace. From that night on, Raven walked. He drifted through small towns, sleeping in abandoned sheds, broken down barns, and highway culverts. He followed whispers. Shadows, signs. The hallucination always led him, always watching, always waiting for him to understand the mission. And then, miles from anywhere recognizable, the first sign appeared. The name that wouldn't let him go. Jaine. A mailbox in a dead field. He passed an old farmhouse on a forgotten road. Mailbox rusted nearly through. The name barely visible. Jaine. Raven froze. Something tightened in his chest. He touched the letters with one gloved finger. Marked. Another mailbox, 10 miles later. This one freshly painted. Jaine printed bold. He felt the whisper brush the back of his skull. Continue. A junkyard truck door. Leaning against a fence. Jaine's harvest service. The business long dead, the paint peeling. But the name glowed in his mind. A third sign. 3 meant certainty, a church billboard, hand-painted sign. Thanksgiving drive hosted by the Jaine family. His breath hitched. A family, a gathering, marked souls. A gas station window poster. A middle school cheer flyer, faded to pink under the sun. At the bottom, contributing families, Jaine. His fingertips brushed the glass. A torn newspaper page. After a storm, a newspaper scrap tumbled across the road. He stepped on it. Jaine family Thanksgiving returns this year. Wind rattled the paper like laughter. 7, a road sign. He followed the curve of a quiet highway until he saw it. Jaine Creek Road. And that was the moment he stopped thinking. And obeyed. "Collect them," the whisper commanded. The night before Thanksgiving, the moon hung low over the trees. Raven stood in the dense forest off a rural highway, axes strapped across his back, coat brushing softly against the underbrush. He breathed slowly, deeply. Listening. Someone was coming. A mother, 3 daughters, walking unknowingly toward him tomorrow night. He didn't know their faces. He didn't need to. Death wanted them. And Raven Heller lived to serve. He stepped back into the shadows, disappearing into the woods like smoke. The silver teeth of his mask glinted in the darkness. He smiled beneath them. They're coming. Chapter 1. The calm before the woods. The morning of Thanksgiving began the same way all important mornings did in the Jaine household, quietly, deliberately, with Veronika awake before the sun even considered climbing over the horizon. She sat on the edge of her neatly made bed, elbows on her knees, rubbing her hands together as she mentally ran through the day's timeline. 1 hour, 32 minutes to her parents' house. Add 10 minutes for morning traffic. Add 15 minutes for the girls to load everything. Add 5 minutes for inevitable "Mom, I forgot" interruptions. Add 3 minutes for checking that she locked the door 3 times. She inhaled through her nose, controlled, then exhaled slowly. It wasn't anxiety, it was discipline. She had been trained to prepare, trained to be ready, trained to never be caught by surprise. Old instincts never really died. They just lived quietly under the skin, waiting for the world to give them permission to wake up. Veronika stood and stretched her shoulders. Her dark, straight hair fell around her face before she swept it back and twisted it into a low ponytail. She wore simple, durable clothing. Black jeans, a fitted long sleeve, boots she could run or fight in if needed. She dressed the way she lived, purpose first. She moved silently down the hallway toward the kitchen. The house was peaceful in these early hours, the kind of stillness that made every small sound feel amplified. The soft hum of the refrigerator, the distant tick of the living room clock, the muted rustle of the wind brushing against the siding. Veronika paused at the threshold of the kitchen. Today was supposed to be normal. But something about the air made her neck prickle. She pushed the feeling aside. Her daughters needed her grounded, not rattled by instincts that didn't belong to civilian life anymore. With a slow exhale, she switched her focus to the long counter and the small mountain of ingredients and cookware laid out from the night before. Time to get to work. The cooking ritual. Thanksgiving at her parents' house had rules. Elizabeth Jaine ran her kitchen like a cheerful, apron-wearing general. And no matter how grown Veronika was, she wasn't about to show up empty-handed. She started the oven, listening to the metallic click as the heat ignited. Then she moved methodically, chopping, seasoning, stirring, transferring, tasting. She cooked like she fought, efficient, focused, controlled. No wasted movements, no hesitation. As the potatoes roasted, she mixed batter for her mother's favorite cornbread muffins. She whisked the mixture in slow, deliberate circles, the rhythm steady enough to settle her heartbeat. The house began to warm with scents of herbs and garlic, the oven exhaling gentle waves of heat. Her shoulders relaxed. This was grounding. Not a battlefield. Not the cold echo of command halls. Not a desert or a training facility. Just a kitchen, just her daughters upstairs, sleeping soundly in their warm beds. Just a holiday. Her eyes softened. These mornings mattered. The triplets' wake. At precisely 7:43 a.m., the ceiling creaked faintly above her, a soft thump. Then another. Footsteps, her girls. Lexa was always first, the most controlled, the most observant. True to pattern, Lexa descended the stairs with quiet steps, dark hair neatly braided, sweatshirt half-zipped over a fitted tank. She looked at the trays on the counter like she could already see the color-coded system in her mother's head. "Morning, Mom." Her voice came out clear, calm, already awake in ways her sisters never were at this hour. "Morning," Veronika said without looking up from the cornbread batter. "Laundry finished?" "Folded in her room," Lexa replied. "Yours too? Good." There was no unnecessary affection between them in moments like this, but the respect flowed thick and warm beneath every word. Lexa opened the cabinets and began pulling out containers, making quick assessments. This dish should go in a deeper container, that one should get wrapped twice, this one needs a more secure lid. Her mind worked fast, sometimes faster than she could speak. Then came a dragging shuffle, the unmistakable sound of someone not yet awake enough to be alive. Ari appeared at the top of the stairs wearing pajama shorts and a hoodie 2 sizes too big. Her long dark hair was tangled, and she blinked blearily as if the concept of mourning was a personal insult. With the blanket still wrapped around her shoulders, she mumbled, "Why does Thanksgiving happen so early?" Lexa snorted. Veronika shook her head. Ari stumbled down the stairs, leaning into her mother's shoulder and letting her weight hang there dramatically. Veronika reached up and tapped her cheek lightly. "Up, eyes open. Help us get ready, new." "Let me perish," Ari groaned. "You're not perishing," Veronika said, nudging her forward. "You're peeling carrots. That's worse. It builds character. I have character. I have so much character. Good. Use it in the kitchen." Ari sighed, defeated, and trudged over to the cutting board. Then came the final, fiery storm. Allika stomped down the stairs like she had something to prove. Her dark hair was pulled into a high ponytail, her eyeliner sharp enough to cut someone, her hoodie slightly too big but stylish, and her expression already screaming attitude. "Okay," Allie announced, hands on her hips. "Which one of you used my hairbrush and didn't put it back?" "Probably you," Lexa replied without looking up. "Definitely you," Ari chimed. Allie narrowed her eyes. "Mom?" Veronika kept whisking. "Do I look like I use your hairbrush? No, then solve the problem." Ugh, Allie huffed. The attitude, the posture, the fire, Veronika knew it well. Allika was her most difficult, her most emotional, her most intense. She was also the one who would run into danger first if it meant protecting her family. A blessing, a curse, sometimes both, the breakfast chaos. By the time breakfast was on the table, simple pancakes, scrambled eggs, sliced fruit, Ari was halfway awake. Lexa had reorganized the spice rack for efficiency, and Allie was scrolling her phone while simultaneously giving commentary on a group chat argument none of them were invested in. Ari nudged her mom's arm gently. "You should sit and eat too." "I will. After you three eat." Lexa arched a brow. "Mom, you haven't eaten since last night." "I'm fine." All three girls stopped, in perfect sync, staring at her. It was moments like this that reminded Veronika how unnerving her daughters could be when they aligned. Lexa spoke first, tone firm. "Sit." Ari nodded eagerly. "Sit." Allie thumped the chair nearest her. "Mom, sit your dramatic self down." Veronika blinked. They weren't asking. They were giving an order. She tried to sigh, but the corner of her mouth lifted, and she pulled out the chair and sat. The three girls exchanged victorious looks. "You okay?" Lexa asked, handing her a pancake. "Just tired," Veronika said, and overthinking, Allie muttered, "and not eating enough," Ari added. "Don't gang up on me," Veronika said dryly. "We're your tactical unit," Lexa said. "Ganging up is literally what we do." That made Veronika laugh under her breath. She ate, and for a moment the world softened. The packing process. The kitchen turned into a production line by 10:30 a.m. as the triplets loaded everything into the Jeep. Lexa handled the fragile items, packing them into insulated containers and making sure they were cushioned with towels. Ari hauled lighter things back and forth in bursts of energy, humming to herself as she went. Allie carried the heaviest trays effortlessly, muscles flexing under her sleeves as she locked the coolers and clicked them shut with practiced efficiency. Veronika watched them work from the doorway. Years ago, teaching them self-defense had been simply practical, useful, necessary. But as they grew, as the world changed, as her instincts sharpened with age, she leaned into the training more seriously. She taught them how to read a room, how to spot lies, how to move in formation, how to defend each other, how to keep calm under pressure, how to fight fiercely but efficiently. Now her daughters moved like a unit, a quiet, bonded three-person strike team. And they didn't even realize how impressive they looked. That terrified her sometimes. But it also made her proud. Minor interruptions. Halfway through loading, Ari came running back inside. "Mom, Lexa and Allie won't let me put the snack bag in the back seat." "That's because you eat all the snacks," Allie shouted from the driveway. "I do not." "You do," Lexa said calmly. "Statistically, you consume 64% of the snacks." Ari gasped. "You track my snack consumption." "Yes, that's terrifying. And accurate." Veronika wiped her hands on a towel. "Ari, you can put the snack bag in the front seat with me." Ari pumped her fist. "Victory!" Allie rolled her eyes. "I'm begging you to act normal." "I am acting normal." "You act like a golden retriever that drank 2 Red Bulls," Allie muttered. "That sounds awesome." Veronika pinched the bridge of her nose. "You're all exhausting." "We learned from the best," Lexa said warmly. A quiet moment between mother and daughter. As the final tray was secured in the Jeep, Lexa lingered by the hood, studying her mother's face. "Mom," she said softly. "You okay? You've been distracted." Veronika paused. Lexa noticed everything. Nothing escaped her. "Just tired," Veronika said. Lexa held her mother's gaze, greenish-blue eyes mirroring her own. She didn't push. She never pushed. But she understood. "Whatever it is," Lexa said quietly, "we've got you." It warmed something deep in Veronika's chest. "I know," she murmured, "and that scares me more than anything." Lexa smiled faintly. Then she whispered, almost teasing, "Mom, you're allowed to be protected too." Veronika froze, then turned away, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "We should get going," she said, but Lexa saw it. The tiny, flickering soft spot behind her mother's armor. She didn't comment, she just joined her sisters. Critical checks. Veronika walked around the Jeep one final time. Tires, good. Fluids, checked last night. Containers, secure. Emergency kit fully stocked, phone charge 85%, backup phone charged, side pocket flashlight and pepper spray, under seat multi-tool and first aid kit. Her daughter's seatbelts ready. Everything was in order. Everything was normal. Everything was safe. So why did the air feel like it was holding its breath? Veronika pushed the sensation away again. She had felt phantom instincts before, old soldier reflexes. They didn't belong here. Not today, not with her family. She opened the driver's door and climbed in, buckling down. Ari slid into the back seat, already buckling herself and adjusting her blanket like she was settling in for a road trip movie marathon. Allie pulled her seatbelt sharply across her chest, muttering at it like it personally offended her. Lexa sat in the front, straight-backed, hands folded pristinely in her lap, gaze forward like a co-pilot ready for takeoff. Veronika settled behind the wheel. "Seatbelts," she repeated. "Click, click, click." "Yes, ma'am," they chorused. Veronika rested her hands on the wheel, her pulse steadying. Her daughters were safe. The Jeep was packed. The day was beginning. She turned the ignition. The engine rumbled to life, warm and familiar. "All right," Veronika said, backing down the driveway. "Let's hit the road." The tires rolled over the pavement. The house grew smaller in the mirrors. The world looked calm, quiet, ordinary. But miles ahead, hidden behind bare trees and November shadows, something watched the road already. Waiting, listening, smiling behind silver teeth. The Jaine family drove toward their holiday, and toward the beginning of their nightmare.